Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back and it is Sunday, May 24th, and it is 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to get into the news. And I think, if I am not mistaken, and I could be, actually, let's go out there and look right now. I think Q has posted tonight, but I do not have that ready. So yeah, it looks like he's posted quite a bit. Yeah, so I will have that for you tomorrow. And I apologize, but I already had this ready. And so there we go. And I really ended up thinking that I was going to have to take my stepdad back to the hospital because he is not doing well. So please, please pray for him. Yeah, he's not doing well at all. So please pray for him. If you are a believer, I would appreciate it. Okay, and I do want to thank these people because I may forget at the end. So I'm going to do that now if you don't mind. Thank you to Royal Kitty. That's a cool name. Royal Kitty donated via coffee and picked up a new Patreon subscriber or supporter. Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. And I got a couple letters. Well, not today because it's Sunday, but I got them Friday. And I should have thanked them yesterday, but I had neglected to do that. So I wanted to make sure to thank them today. Diane N. from Hawaii sent a wonderful note and donation. Thank you very much, Diane. And Faye H. from North Carolina. I used to live in North Carolina. I love that state. So anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it very, very much, especially during this time. And let's just get into the news, shall we? All right. Now, again, it's not in any particular order, but I've just kind of grabbed some things that I think that you'll enjoy or that you need to know. So this is Adam Schiff to Jimmy Kimmel, and let's listen to what he has to say. I know. Nobody likes to hear him, but...
And still lose because they don't have they can do...
Sorry. Let me do this. Okay.
They can do everything right and still lose because they don't have the numbers. The demographic that supports them is an older and dying, literally dying demographic. They can do everything right.
Yeah,
and still lose.
That's what Adam Schiff says. He says, you know, the Democrats can do everything right, but they're still going to lose because their supporters are an older demographic that are literally dying. And well, they're trying their best to kill them off, aren't they? With putting all these COVID patients in with. I don't know if you saw this. I didn't show it because I found it very sickening to watch. It upset me tremendously. But there was a young African-American boy about, 20, he was 20, and he was positive for COVID. So they put him into a nursing home because apparently that's what they did. If you had COVID and and there was space in the nursing home, that's where they were housing them. Now this is in Michigan, so that says a lot. This seems to be happening in states with Democrat governors. So put this guy in the nursing home and he recorded himself beating up the residents. He beat up one 75-year-old man. He beat him bloody. He was taken to the hospital. They thought he had a fall. But anyway, turns out he's a retired police officer, but he wasn't even able to tell them what had happened. So he may have had a stroke or something, but yeah. So, but there are other videos of him beating up people in this nursing home, and now there's even a suggestion that he may have sexually abused some of them. So here's my question. This guy apparently was a roommate to the man that he beat up, one of the men that he beat up, the 75-year-old retired police officer. So please tell me how somebody that is COVID positive, which he was COVID positive, and he had mental issues. So please tell me why anyone with a brain in their head would take a COVID positive 20-year-old who probably has the mentality of someone much younger and put them in with a gentleman, not only in the nursing home at large, but in with this particular gentleman that didn't have COVID. Please tell me that's murder. That is attempted murder. It is, because anybody with a brain in their head would know that if you put somebody with the virus in with somebody without it, they're gonna get it. So maybe they're trying to kill off the demographic that is most likely to vote for Trump, because yes, a lot of older people do vote for Trump because they are conservative, but it's not just older people. There's lots and lots of young people as well. And, you know, them claiming that they're uneducated, are you kidding me? There's doctors and lawyers and brilliant people following Donald Trump. I don't get where they're getting that from at all. But this is what Adam Schiff, because he's not able to tell the truth. I think that he actually possibly even believes his own lies, which makes him all the more dangerous, right? The people that believe their own lies are the most dangerous, because it's hard to tell that they're lying, because they believe it so much. They say it with such conviction because they actually believe their own lies. He's obviously a pathological liar. I would like to think that it's an illness and that he maybe believes his own lies, but I don't know. I think he knows he's lying, and I don't even know if he believes it. It's pretty evident to anybody that watches body language that he knows he's trying to put something over on you. But again, we're not in his body, so we don't know what goes through his mind or doesn't go through his mind, as the case may be. But Adam Schiff, yeah, he is definitely one of the slimiest in the swamp. No doubt about that. So let's go back, because we've got more to cover here, and let's look at this because, well, it gives me pleasure. We've got this. Now, let's play this now.
Told Sam Donaldson and me what questions we should ask. That would not have gone well, Jonah.
Yeah, look, it's nice to see Donna so deferential to Kayleigh McEnany. I think her behavior is indefensible and grotesque. And I think that what she has done is there's this cliche in Washington that President Trump wants a Roy Cohn as DOJ. As the Attorney General. What Donald Trump wants in a press secretary is a Twitter troll who goes on attack, doesn't actually care about doing the job they have, and instead wants to impress an audience of one and make another part of official Washington another one of these essentially cable news and Twitter gladiatorial arenas. And it's a sign of the defining of deviancy down in our politics, and it's only going to make things worse.
I'm sorry, but this guy probably is lacking in a very important department of being a male, because he's awfully threatened by this woman press secretary. And why? I think what she did was awesome, because she basically told them how to do their jobs. They're not doing their jobs. And basically she laid out Obamagate and, gave them their talking points. Now, will they use any of those talking points? Of course not. They don't want to report anything that might reflect positively on Trump. Now, would they? Of course not. So let's go on here. But this man is just ridiculous, over the top ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway.
Josh, in the time we got left, the White House press secretary is always a complicated job. They work for the White House, but they're paid by taxpayers. They are public officials.
Yeah, and then look at her. Yeah. And wasn't she accused of voter fraud or something at one point? I'm pretty sure she was. Nothing happened to her, though. Anyway, so there's that. One measure of any press secretary's effectiveness is who precisely is enraged by them. I would agree with that. And says John Dispatch says Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany's behavior is indefensible and grotesque, and that Trump wants a Twitter troll that goes on the attack, doesn't actually care about doing the job they have in a press secretary. I think she's doing a fantastic job, personally. I just don't think they like her because she doesn't put up with any of their crap. I think she's fantastic. All right, but that's just me. But boy, sure triggered those guys. Okay, now let's look at this. Yes, they did it again. CBS caught using photo from Ukraine in 2016 in their panic porn on CV in children. Yes, they did. They've done it again. In April, CBS News was caught using footage from an Italian hospital to describe conditions in New York City. Emergency room footage on CBS matched footage from Italian hospital. Remember that? I think we do. CBS wanted the pandemic to look as horrible as possible, so they used Italian footage to describe New York City at the time. This weekend, they did it again. Yeah. CBS News was caught using photo from 2016 in Ukraine to describe a baby suffering from Kawasaki disease linked to CV. Yeah. And so this is from back in, this was October 13th, 2016. And this was in Ukraine, children suffer from Kawasaki virus, which is confused with something else that I can't read. And then they're using this again to describe Kawasaki disease in CV children. So not quite sure how they get away with that, but they seem to. Nobody seems to care. I mean, except us, conservatives. Nobody seems to care. It's like, oh, did they? No, they wouldn't do that. Yeah. So this is the first one. It says Coxsackie virus affects Ukrainian children, symptoms and treatments. So this is Coxsackie, and the other one is Kawasaki. Kawasaki. You break out in motorcycles. That was a bad joke. Okay, and here is the same image used by CBS to describe a rare condition in children linked to CV. They had to find a good scary picture to promote their ongoing panic porn. It should be noted that despite the comments by Dr. Fauci, this skin condition linked to CV is seen every year in 13 of 100,000 children in a Canadian study. Dr. Fauci is not being completely honest with the American public. Again, well, he can't be trusted. He really can't, because you catch him lying once and you think, that could be an oversight. But when it happens again and again and again, and you look into everybody he's connected with, and yeah, it becomes quite obvious. He is not to be trusted. He is deep state, if ever there was one. Okay, and let's go back now, because there's more. Okay, this by Mariana. My husband just told me that his friend's great-grandfather just got an absentee ballot in the mail today. He died over 25 years ago. Great job, Michigan. Well, we just keep hearing more and more and more about Michigan. Glad I'm not living there. I'm sure there are some wonderful, wonderful people in Michigan. I'm quite convinced of it. But their governor is a piece of work. Seriously. Okay, and Nick Rizzuto, New York City is allowing you to hang out on the beaches, but not swim. California is allowing you to swim, but not hang out on the beaches. Both claim science is guiding their policies. So which one's right? Neither. Let people go to the beach if they want to go to the beach. They're quite capable of staying, apart. If they are worried about getting this virus, quite frankly, I'm not as worried anymore. Now, I'm not going to go out and shake hands with people and start touching my face and everything. I am going to be cautious, but not paranoid. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm just not. I do wear a mask when I go see my parents because they are very, very, well, they're elderly and they've got weakened immune systems. My mom's just getting over hip surgery, and my stepfather has some health issues as well. Well, I hear a little animal right outside the window. A little disconcerting. Hope it's not a fox. He likes to come by. I need to stop feeding him chicken. Okay, now, this right here, let me make this bigger for you guys on your tiny little phones. Somebody needs to make a phone about tiny phone people. I love them now. Love you tiny phone people, because you are committed to watch this on a tiny phone. You got to be committed to do that. So I have all the respect in the world for you guys. Anyway, Daytona Beach has been overrun, crowds out of control, shootings at the ER police force is overwhelmed, calling other counties for assistance. And yeah, I mean, this is a little ridiculous. I mean, they are like packed together. I don't like to be in a crowd like that. Even if I was assured everybody was healthy, Canadians actually, and this is true, it's proven by science, that Canadians have a larger personal space. They need more personal space than I think we beat every other nation. We need a lot of personal space. So, because I remember when I moved to the States, I felt like everybody was right up in my face, and it was like, back off. And they weren't being aggressive, but I felt it because we're just used to more personal space. And then I got used to being down south because I lived in the States for most of my adult life. And I came back here and it was like, wow, like, you know, people were reacting to me like I used to react to Americans. So yeah, we need a lot of personal space. So that doesn't look like a good time to me personally, but yeah. So that's Daytona Beach, and let's look at this from Eric Trump. Okay, hang on. Now, Eric Trump says, powerful. Well, let's listen to this. This is a Trump campaign little ad. So let's take a listen.
I'm figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Take a look at my record, man.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement and kept telling the story anyway.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea.
That's not the word marching means on Twitter.
I was not out marching.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
And you ain't black.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
Yeah, that is a good ad campaign because, you know, Joe Biden makes it very, very easy for Trump to make campaign ads because of that. I would be enraged if I was African American and he had said that. I would be enraged. I mean, I'm enraged for them. How dare somebody tell you? I wouldn't want somebody saying, well, you're not white if you don't vote, whatever. I'd be like, who are you to define what my whiteness is, or what someone's blackness is, or whatever? It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, it's ridiculous. All right, let's go back. I had to show you this. I have to show you this. I have to. Must. To all my Democrat friends, if I have any, here is your leader. They would hang Trump if he did this. Now, Okay, looks like he's just giving her a kiss, right? Which is totally inappropriate. Still, you don't kiss other people's children. You know, if it's a niece, a nephew, or something like that, okay, but you don't just meet somebody on the street and start kissing their children. Well, I would, if I had a child, I would like to see somebody try that. Really, because I'd be like a mama bear when it comes to stuff like that. And let's look down here now what he's really doing. He has her cheek in his mouth. He's not just kissing her, he's giving her a little nibble. Now, if you were that child's parents, what would you think? Really? It's just not, it's awful. You don't do that. Maybe a father to a daughter, you know, giving her a peck on the cheek and, you know, nibbling her cheek or something. I could see that, like a young girl, a father, but a stranger? No. It's awful. Anyway, wanted to show you that. And this by Donald J. Trump, your president and mine. The United States cannot have all mail-in ballots. It will be the greatest rigged election in history. People grab them from mailboxes, print thousands of forgeries, and force people to sign. Also, forge names, some absentee okay when necessary, trying to use COVID for this scam. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they're trying to extend it out to next November, and I don't think that's going to work because people are getting irate. I mean, I can't even have a haircut. Are you kidding me? I can't get my hair done. I can't, you know, you can't go, I can't go to the chiropractor. I can't, you know, things that are necessary. I mean, a haircut is pretty essential if you ask me. Really. I mean, how are you, for those that have jobs, are they supposed to go looking like the woolly mammoth? I'm just saying. I mean, it doesn't, what's closed and what's open doesn't make sense to me at all. But yeah, I digress. All right, well, let's move on now, shall we? Because there's more. There's always more. Okay, Trump, I have a chance to break the deep state. All right. In an exclusive interview set to air Sunday, President Trump tells Cheryl Atkinson that he believes he is making inroads in draining the Washington swamp. If it keeps going the way it's going, I have a chance to break the deep state. It's a vicious group of people. President Trump on full measure with Cheryl Atkinson. All right. And the president calls churches, synagogues, mosques, and other religious institutions essential services and says they must be allowed to open. Cheryl asked if someone reviews his tweets before he sends them out. Trump weighs in on the biggest strengths and weaknesses of Joe Biden. Yeah, he couldn't think of any strengths. Well, really, I can't think of any. I mean, I'm not being cruel. I'm just saying I can't think of any because he's a corrupt politician. Anyway, Cheryl asked about mixed messages the government is sending on the anti-malaria drug, the drug. She also asked President Trump how he can press to investigate allegation about Biden and Ukraine without appearing to be doing the same thing Democrats did to him in 2016. So that was on, well, it's already been on actually. It aired tonight. I have not seen it, but I have seen clips. All right, let's go back, shall we? All right, and this woman that I'm about to show you is the opposite of Karen. Now, you all know what a Karen is, right? Yeah, well, these people that yell at you if you're going the wrong way in the grocery store, yell at you because you're not wearing a mask, and you know, get all up in your face. Well, they call them Karen. And did you know that a group of Karens is called a privilege of Karens? I'm not making this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. Anyway, this is the opposite of Karen right here. Oh, and the male version is Brian. Is Brian, after Brian Stelter. Yeah, well, you probably know who I'm talking about. Okay. The opposite of Karen. Here. All right. Now it starts off slow, but we're going to listen to this and hang on here. Let me make this bigger first. And at first you can't really hear, but it's going to get better, okay? So hang with me.
We're going to get a lot of lawsuits on them.
So it's against the law?
It's against the law to make you wear a mask. It's against the law. The ADA tells them that you cannot make people wear a mask. It's not our laws at all. This is just made up by Bill Gates and them, and by you wearing that. Seriously, think about it. You're breathing out your toxic air, and you're breathing in the same air. You're making your lungs, you're killing your antibodies, so that if there's a cold that comes around in November, you're getting sick. You're making yourself sick. You're making, breathe.
Yeah, you're spitting out too.
No, baby, that's not what's going to make you sick. You're alive. Go look on the package, and it will tell you. It will not protect you from COVID-19. You are hurting yourself. Don't stop being lied to. They want to kill all the Mexicans.
Do you believe in the COVID?
They want to kill all the black people. They want to kill everybody. Watch out what you're being told. You're being lied to.
Do you believe in it?
Do I believe with the COVID? I believe there's a virus, but it's not what they say. It's like any other virus. They have 99% cure. 99% cure. So what kind of a virus is that? We all had viruses. We all get colds. You're being lied to. Please do your due diligence. Read, do your research. Don't let the government fool you. Be smart, please, for your sake. Because what's happening is she's hurting her antibodies in her body. She's breathing in the toxicity and the carbon monoxide that is going to make her sick. She's not getting enough breath in her lungs, which is going to cause her lungs to weaken. It's all damaging. Look it up for yourself. Go online and look it up.
I will.
Take my word. Thank you.
Good for her. Good for her. She's right. She's right about all of that. So I think she needs a bra, but other than that, I think that she's doing a wonderful job. I really do. And I think that that's awesome, because we need people like that to educate others. I wish I had the courage to stand up. And I mean, I have, I remember talking to a person in the grocery store, and she was saying, I said, well, I can't wait till this is over and it's so unnecessary. And she says, no, it's totally necessary. And I said, well, yeah, but think of it. All of the essential workers that are now working in the grocery stores and fast food and everything, why aren't they just all dropping dead? And she's like, I never thought of that. See, people aren't used to thinking critically. So if someone tells you there's a terrible virus, you can't go out, everybody will comply, because they think, well, why would they lie about that? And indeed, why would they? But we know that there is a way more to this than meets the eye. All right. Okay, let's go on. Why? Because we can. Let's look at this. New York Times front page list of COVID deaths includes name of murdered man. I didn't know a virus could murder you. I know it can kill you, it can cause you to die, but I didn't know it could actually murder you. Amazing. So here is the front page news of the New York Times for May 24th, 2020. That's today. In a delicious bit of irony, the New York Times sought to be poignant and powerful, but ended up just making another Spectator error. America's paper of record, now a fully far-left newspaper after a long run of being mostly fair and balanced, ran a front story on Sunday with no photos and no stories. Instead, there was just a list of 1,000 names of those the paper said had died of COVID-19. U.S. deaths near 100,000, an incalculable loss, said the headline. There were not simply names on a list, they were us, said the subheadline. As the U.S. approaches a grim milestone in the outbreak, the New York Times gathered names of the dead and memories of their lives from obituaries across the country, said the lead. The long list of names included their age and just a few words about them. Angelina Michaelopoulos, 92, was never afraid to sing or dance. Leila Fenwick, 87, was the first Black woman to graduate from Harvard Law. That is amazing. Romy Cohen, 91, saved 56 Jewish families from the Gestapo. Wow. Like, these truly are a loss. And because some of them did die from COVID, obviously. April Dunn, 33, was an advocate for disability rights. Patricia H. Thatcher, 79, sang in the church choir for 42 years. Fred Gray, 75, liked his bacon and hash browns crispy. Harley E. Acker, 79, discovered his true calling when he started driving a school bus. Frank Gabrin, 60, was an emergency room doctor who died in his husband's arm. Skylar Herbert, 5, was Michigan's youngest victim of the coronavirus pandemic. Philip Kahn, 100, World War II veteran whose twin died in the Spanish flu epidemic a century ago. The list included the name of Jordan Driver Haynes, 27, of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, calling him a generous young man with a delightful grin. But Haynes, whose name was listed 6th from the top, didn't die from the virus. He was murdered. According to local reports, an autopsy has ruled the death of Jordan Haynes a homicide. He just about knocked over my little stand with the microphone. Sorry, I'm holding it here until he jumps up there. Go on. There he goes. Ooh, my. So the list, but Haynes, whose name was listed, okay, so he was, he's listed as a homicide. His body found in a vehicle in a wooded area off I-380 on March 12th. Details regarding the homicide aren't being released. Boy, that COVID is really brutal. Killed this guy and put his body in a vehicle in a wooded area. Wow. CNN reported that the Times will be running a correction and will remove Haynes' name in later editions, with a rep from the paper telling a network host that the error has been removed for later editions of the paper. A correction will be running in print that was added to the online story. Editor's note, this story has been updated to reflect that one of the names listed on the Times front page was a homicide death, not a COVID-19 death. Some theories immediately popped up on social media. Took all of 5 minutes on Google to realize that the journalist literally just searched obituaries for keyword COVID-19. Haynes' obituary states that his funeral was delayed due to COVID-19. How a professional can make a mistake like this is unreal, wrote one Twitter user. That's the 6th name. They only made it to 6 out of 100,000 alleged deaths before they got caught making them up. This is scary. They only had to get 1,000 out of an alleged 100,000. They got 5 in a row. 5, said another person on Twitter. I punched only that name into Google because he was so young and the name was so close to the top of the list that I'm sure many people noticed it simultaneously, wrote another. Kudos to whoever went through the trouble of combing through this to find that. Timothy, he said, I punched that name into Google, blah, blah, blah. In a separate piece headlined the project behind a front page full of names, the chief creative officer, okay, well, I wouldn't call that creative, but anyway, of the Times, Tom Bodkin, noted that Sunday's newspaper is certainly a first in modern times to run a front page with no images, no graphics, and no stories. Mark Lacey, the paper's national editor, said, I wanted something that people would look back on in 100 years to understand the toll of what we're living through. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to go through those 1,000 names. And if I had time, I might, but probably not. But anyway, it would be interesting to see how many actually died of COVID. Just be interesting. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Okay, well, we're heading back now. Okay, and then there's this right here, this. What is a COVID-19 surcharge? Oh, stop with this. They're not gonna turn this off, and I hate that. They can't just put one or two ads. They've got to just cover the whole page. Well, maybe they won't. I don't know. Okay, what is a COVID-19 surcharge? Why some restaurants are adding an extra fee to your bill. Some eateries are charging new fees to help make up for the rising cost of food and operating costs. And food is getting outrageous, and toilet paper up here, my gosh, it is. I always thought toilet paper up here was insanely expensive, but now, yeah, it is way, way up. Everything, every single time I go to the grocery store, the prices are up. Seriously. Like many restaurants across the country, Kiko Japanese Steakhouse and Sushi Lounge in West Plains, Missouri, has struggled to keep its menu prices low as the cost of food quickly rises. To help manage costs during the ongoing CV pandemic, the restaurant recently implemented a COVID-19 surcharge. So far, customers and plenty of people on social media have had very mixed reactions. Please read and pay attention to all the signage we posted in front of our restaurant. Today we added more signage so you guys can read them and be aware. We are not trying to hide the surcharge. Excuse me. I'm sorry, that yawn literally attacked me out of nowhere. We are not trying to hide the surcharge. We chose this option rather than changing our prices on our menu. This way we can adjust the surcharge weekly. We've been putting flyers in front of our restaurant and put the surcharge on your receipt today. We put more signage. Please understand we can't control the rising cost of meat. Oh, I don't want to go all the way back there. So, yeah. So anyway, earlier this week, the restaurant was thrust into the national spotlight when a picture of a receipt from Kiko's showing the new surcharge was posted to Twitter. Excuse me, what? A COVID surcharge? Twitter user Italia like it is posted. Tweeters were quick to comment and many weren't exactly thrilled. This is ridiculous. Others questioned whether customers had been informed about the new charge prior to ordering from the restaurant. Well, you know, I do understand it, because why should meat has gotten so expensive? The cost of food has gone up. Why should the restaurant eat that charge? Sorry for the pun, but why should they? I mean, they've had to deal with enough. Businesses are really hurting. So I do understand it, but I understand people being upset about it as well. But I guess if you can't afford to pay the surcharge or don't want to pay it, don't eat there. That seems pretty simple to me. Some folks said that they'd be more than happy to pay a surcharge to help support their favorite local businesses, which have been suffering due to the health crisis. The restaurant's owner and managing partner, Billy Yazar, confirmed the receipt's authenticity and told Today Food that the 5% surcharge was implemented. That's not a big surcharge, 5%. Was implemented on May 6th following a noticeable price increase on meat, seafood, and vegetables from their local supplier. We are hoping to adjust the charge weekly based on the prices we get from our suppliers instead of raising all our prices across the board on our menu. See, that makes sense to me. Totally makes sense. We also planned on taking this surcharge off completely once the prices return to normal. Well, I have news for you. Whenever the price goes up on something, it never comes down. Really. Very, very, very rarely do you ever see a price increase and then them say, okay, let's take this increase off. Now, I'm not talking about the restaurant. I'm sure that they are doing their best during difficult times, but I'm saying that, you know, if you raise the price on food in the grocery store, do you think that food's going to come back down? Nope. I doubt it. I really do. The state of Missouri recently announced local restaurants could, I don't know where that came from. Yawns are just literally attacking me out of nowhere. I don't know why they're picking on me. Anyway, could open their dining rooms at 25% capacity, but Kiko has decided to continue offering takeout only while concerns over the deadly virus are still heightened. All right, well, I think that's enough of that. But I don't know. I know people are very upset about this, but I've managed restaurants back. That was actually the first job that I had, or well, yeah, the first job that I had really was in restaurants, and then I started managing restaurants, but yeah, I got bored of that quickly. So it's hard work, very hard work. You work almost all the time, you work around the clock, and it's just a very hard job, and I feel bad for people that have to do that for a living because it's hard work. My gosh, it's work for the young, let me tell you. But anyway, yeah, I understand, because, you know, if you're being charged more for the food, you can't give it to the customers at the exact same price that you were charging. You'll lose your shirt. So anyway, let's go back now. Now we're getting into something very, very interesting. And at least I think it's very interesting. So let's take a look. Breaking. New photos emerge of 3 Iranians who held secret meeting with John Kerry yesterday in Paris. Now, this is from May 13th, but I'm just seeing these photographs now. I don't know if there's been much attention paid to them until now, but apparently that would have been May 12th, not that long ago. John Kerry met with 3 Iranians. They held a secret meeting in Paris. What's that all about? I can assure you it's nothing good. And why John Kerry isn't in politics anymore? So why, like, I don't get this. I don't get it. So there you go. But there's more about this. Hang on here, let me close some of these. And let me see here. I'm sorry. I was thinking, because I can hear the fan running on my computer. It's been overheating and I need to get a cooling pad for it. And I think that is why that it seems like there's interference sometimes with the mic, because the computer is close to the microphone. So let me know if it's really, really bad. I'm gonna try tomorrow or the next day to get a cooling pad for my laptop, if I can find somewhere open to get it. All right, now let's look at this. Okay, this isn't the same thing, but it's interesting nonetheless. Washington Times, Obama-era cash traced to Iran-backed terrorists. I'm so shocked. No, really, I'm just surprised. The U.S. government has traced some of the $1.7 billion, with a B, released to Iran by the Obama administration to Iranian-backed terrorists in the 2 years since the cash was transferred. According to knowledgeable sources, Iran has used the funds to pay its main proxy, the Lebanon-based terrorist group Hezbollah, along with the Quds Force, Iran's main foreign intelligence and covert action arm and element of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The U.S. money supplied to Iran as part of an arms settlement dating back to the 1970s also has been traced to Iran's backing of Houthi rebels seeking to take power in Yemen. Iran has been supporting the Yemen rebels as part of a bid to encircle and eventually take control of Saudi Arabia. So, the intelligence tracing the American funds to Iranian-backed terrorists is likely to further fuel President Trump's effort to undo the Iran nuclear deal, the Obama administration's main foreign policy initiative, codified in the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, as the Iran nuclear deal is called. Despite promises to reject the deal during the presidential campaign, Mr. Trump announced in January the U.S. would not pull out of the Iran nuclear accord for now, but the president's criticized the transfer of money to Tehran and signaled that Washington is going after Iran's funding of terrorism. The enormous financial windfall the Iranian regime received because of the deal, access to more than $100 billion, including $1.8 billion in cash, has not been used to better the lives of the Iranian people, Mr. Trump said January 12th. Instead, it has served as a slush fund for weapons, terror, and oppression, and to further line the pocket of corrupt regime leaders. Mr. Trump said the United States is countering Iranian proxy wars in Yemen and Syria and cutting the regime's money flows to terrorists. So, isn't that interesting? And it's interesting that this is in the news along with John Kerry visiting Iran, or John Kerry having a secretive meeting in Paris with 3 Iranians. What is he doing? He's up to no good. We can be assured of that. But what's he doing? I wish I had the answer to that. I don't. So let's go on now. But first, I'm gonna do these 2 things, and then this will be the last thing, the gates, because that's gonna take a little bit. So Eric Matheny says the closure of houses of worship by Democrat governors is in no way related to your well-being. Religion is a threat to communism because it acknowledges the existence of a higher power. Under communism, there is no higher power than the government. That makes perfect sense to me because it seems to be happening in the Democrat states. And I don't see why people can't go to church and self-distance, and maybe they can have 2 services instead of 1 so that people can be spread out. It doesn't make sense to me. It is essential. It's essential for many people. It's essential for me. And this is very interesting. And Henry Macau, who is Canadian and has a lot of good information. Anyway, he says Kissinger's speech to the WHO Council on eugenics, February the 25th, 2009. You are going to be shocked at this. And this is what he said. Once the herd accepts mandatory vaccinations, it's game over. They will accept anything for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. Yeah, that kind of, I read that and it just kind of stopped me in my tracks. Once the herd accepts mandatory vaccinations, it's game over. They will accept anything for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. That's what they want to do. And speaking of vaccinations, let's look at this concerning Bill Gates. And we're going to end on this tonight. All right. Bill Gates' depopulation agenda and eugenics frontman, absolutely, Gavi CEO Jeff Berkley states the goal is 100% immunization won't be reached until secure digital identification is fully implemented, to which Gavi became a founding member of ID 2020. And if you come down, okay, let me see here. Yeah, hold on. And this public-private organization to implement a global biometric identity standard, founding member partners, including Microsoft and the Rockefeller Foundation. In 2018, Gavi sought out to find, identify, and register the most vulnerable of children to test on. says leveraging digital technologies for finding, identify, and registering the most vulnerable children to ensure a healthier future. Right. Pump them full of more vaccines. I'm sure that will make them very healthy. Okay. And come down here. Berkeley pursued this idea even in the public eye, going further in this eugenics agenda. Gates has spent the last several years funding projects to bring microchips and vaccines together to record the person's medical vaccine records in the person themselves. And of course, that's what they want to do. They've come up with the digital certificate and they want to insert that with the vaccine. They'll be able to tell if you've had COVID, if you're immune to it, if you've been vaccinated against it, whatever. So Gates has spent the last several years funding projects to bring microchips and vaccines together to record the person's medical vaccine records in the person themselves. Now, let's look at this. Eventually, we will have some digital certificates to show who has recovered or been tested recently, or when we have a vaccine, who has received it. And this is Seth Berkeley, secure digital identification systems that can store a child's medical history. Getting one step closer to the beast, not being able to buy, sell, or what have you, unless you have the mark. Okay. All right. Using dissolvable microneedles that deliver patterns of infrared lighting emitting microparticles to the skin, which is invisible to the eye, yet noticeable to upgraded smartphones, Rice University describes as somewhat like a barcode tattoo behind this. So there is, I guess, what it looks like. And it says, oh yes, this is very interesting as well. And I spoke about this in another video. Luciferase, the quantum dot tattoo. The Gates and MIT are currently developing the human implantable quantum dot microneedle vaccination delivery system. It's a tattoo for the hand, which will include our identification mark and vaccination records. It needs an enzyme called luciferase in order to make it work. Isn't that okay? And by the way, there is a video, and if I can find it again, or if some of you guys see it, post it, because it's a video where Bill Gates was talking, now this was years ago, but talking about a vaccine that would literally alter your DNA and remove your religious leanings. It somehow affects you so that you're not as religious. Now, how it does that, I don't know, but he's talking about it, and I believe it was like a government video that he was presenting this to. I can't remember, but please, if anyone has seen this, you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's alarming, and I wish I had made note of the video so that I could pull it up for you guys. Okay, now, development is Kevin McNew, newsrice.edu. This method cannot be delivered by usual vaccine methods, but rather a dissolvable microneedle in your skin and ultimately unremovable. It's unremovable. Gates, non-medically trained, demands we are to have our medical information inserted into us. The vaccine, it'll contain not only probably our social security number, all that stuff. And this is unreal. This way, later on, people can scan over the area to see what vaccines have been administered and give only the ones still needed. Well, isn't that handy? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came to us and said, hey, we have a real problem knowing who's vaccinated. So our idea was to put the record on the person. Oh, what a great idea. And, you know, if we didn't know what the end game was, we'd probably say, yeah, that's a good idea. But I think there's too many people awake right now. Yeah, way too many people awake now. I can see that this will be a problem because I know that there are a lot of people that will not line up for this and will not take it willingly. So what are they going to do with those people? I don't know. Certificates vaccinated into our person to determine who's a CV-19 recovered person, as quoted by Gates, the new normal of post-CV world before we can return to work as a free nation. On FIDO, AI-based biometric ID verification program has already been signed. Bill Gates declares large public gatherings may not return at all until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world. And owns 500,000 shares of Monsanto, and we all know what an evil, wicked company Monsanto is. If you don't know, then you should look into it because it will shock you. So owns 500,000 shares of Monsanto, the most evil company in the world. Yes, by far. Claims he wants to make the world a better place. You know what would make the world a better place, Bill? Really? When you pass on. And I'm sorry to have to say that, but I wish you no harm, but the world will be a better place because people that think like him are dangerous people. They are dangerous. They are like Hitler's, because I wonder how many people really that I wonder how many deaths this guy is responsible for through his vaccines. He tests them in Africa. A lot of children die, and Africans are really, they say, well, Bill Gates comes and our babies die. We don't want him here. So I wonder how many deaths he's actually responsible for, because I believe that he is a mass murderer. And does so proudly. Thinks he's doing the world a favor, I guess. Bill Gates' new population control microchip due for launch in 2018, remote controlled contraceptive designed to control fertility remotely. Wow, I've never heard of that, and I don't believe that it exists right now. But I may have to look that up. I hope it doesn't. Not that it would affect me, but I'm just saying. With the British government to provide the tech needed for such agenda, which would be using an app on your phone to scan your face or biometric implements in order to work, travel, etc. Last month, on FIDO, raised $50 million from investments but it doesn't, he says from, and then he goes ... but it's never finished. So it says on FIDO, which verifies IDs, uses AI, nabs $50 million from SBI, Salesforce, Microsoft, and more. And here says Microsoft Gates is now funding AAD, HAAR, whatever that is. In 2014, the World Bank created a sector for identification for development initiative called ID4D, which is meant for support towards identification programs using 21st century technology to support 16.9 of, that drives me crazy because it's just ... nothing. So this is on here. ADHAR, your all-purpose identity. It's compulsory from January 1st, January 2013, for access to every government service. Interesting. What is ADHAR scheme card? ADHAR is a 12-digit individual identification number issued by the UIDAI on behalf of the government of India. This serves as proof of identity and address anywhere in India, collects demographic and biometric information to establish uniqueness of individuals for every resident, irrespective of existing documentation. Wow. And UN Agenda 2030 to provide legal identity for all, including birth certificate. The ID4D Multi-Donor Trust Fund, MDTF, was established with the contributions from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, followed by the UK, French, and Australian governments. So isn't that special? Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, the present vast overpopulation, now far beyond the world carrying capacity, cannot be answered by future reductions in the birth rate due to contraception, sterilization, and abortion, but must be met in the present by the reduction of numbers presently existing. This must be done by whatever means necessary. And I know it sounds out there, but that's what Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 is. They want to kill us. Yes, they do. And this is more about that, and I can't read that. All right, let's come on down, see what else is here, because this is good stuff. And the Omidyar network to shape global approaches on identification. Gates has been intimately involved into digital payment using biometric technology. In 2012, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation helped fund the Better Than Cash Alliance. See how this is all coming together? Not in a good way, but just like the book of Revelation. At its core, Good Idea is inclusive, offers significant personal value, and empowers individuals with privacy, security, and control. Good ID builds trust with transparency and accountability. Good ID seeks to address exclusion, discrimination, surveillance, consent, and other key issues of our time. All right, and brings together governments, international organizations, and the private sector to accelerate from cash to digital payment globally using a biometric systems, of course, tied directly to Aadhaar. The Indian program Aadhaar is pushing this digital economy. They're pushing it globally, to which Gates has been vastly involved, is the first step towards global implementation and shows how much a system will be abused. In January 2018, a report in the Tribune reveals all the details, including the name, address, postal code, photo, phone number. I don't know what he's talking about here, but so I'm not sure about that, but anyway. It says the email of all 1 billion of Aadhaar registered Indians was available for purchase on WhatsApp for 500 rupees or $7 US. The unique ID of India that administers the Aadhaar scheme was forced to admit that 210 websites was giving away the information. Yeah, that's how things like that can be really abused. Do you begin to see then what kind of world we are creating? This is a quote by George Orwell. Do you begin to see then what kind of world we are creating? It is the exact opposite of the stupid hedonistic utopias that the old reformers imagined, a world of fear and treachery and torment, a world of trampling and being trampled upon, a world which will grow not less but more merciless as it refines itself. Progress in our world will be progress toward more pain. Interesting. And I think I'm going to stop there for now because it's I've gone for an hour and it is 11:37. So by the time this gets uploaded, well, it takes a minute to upload, not even a minute, and then it just sits there and processes forever because, well, you know, YouTube wants to torment people that have different views than they do. But this is interesting, actually. Hang on. CV19 was the first step to analyze the steps it would take to control the public, as the public is unaware of their plan because they are consumed with fear, with help from the MSM. The next wave will be their attempt to full implementation of a New World Order agenda. And look at this. COVID-19 is a false flag operation to usher in the New World Order. They are forging death certificates to inflate the figures. Yes, they are. Do your research. That's great. I should start sticking those up everywhere. And I can't read that. And I can't read that. So hospitals get an extra $13,000 if they diagnose a death as COVID-19. And an additional $39,000 if they use a ventilator. So what do you think they're doing? Yeah, there are people, lots of people I've discovered that they'll kill their own mother for $1. There are a lot of people like that. I never believed it because I thought everyone thought like I did. Like I thought, oh, why would anybody want to hurt anybody? Yeah, not everybody thinks that way. So anyway, there's more of this, and I may come back and visit this again because the stuff on Bill Gates is endless. I mean, really, I could just do my show on Bill Gates and I'd probably have enough material for 5 years. Seriously, there's a lot on Bill Gates. But anyway, let's leave it there for now. Oh, wait, I gotta show you this. Not an engineer, never finished college, not a doctor, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, unelected, visited Epstein's pedo island countless times, documented thief, owns virus patents, owns vaccine companies, and they want us to trust him? Not a chance. Not a chance. I mean, am I going to take medical advice and let him dictate medically what to do when he's not even as educated as I am? I mean, yes, he's a brilliant man. I'm not discounting that. He's probably got an IQ that makes mine look like that of a soap dish. But I'm just saying, you know, he's not a doctor. He only plays one on TV. Okay, and this is a vaccination agenda. Bill Gates and the Vatican agenda, vaccinate 300 million by 2025. CV vaccination and depopulation, and they go hand in hand. I shouldn't tell you that. I was going to say don't get the vaccine. I shouldn't tell you that because that's your decision, but I just saying I won't be taking it. And look at the book that he's reading here, How to Lie with Statistics. It's extremely easy to lie with statistics. And the Georgia Guidestones, erected anonymously in March 1980, inscribed in 12 different languages. Hole in the center column always leaves North Star visible, precise horizontal slot indicating sun cycles, and inscribed 10 guides for new age of reason. Maintain humanity under 500,000 or 500 million. Yeah, 500 million. So that's like what, 7 billion people need to die? 7.5 billion people need to die. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, unite humanity with a living new language, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court, avoid petty laws and useless officials, balance personal rights with social duties, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. That's not the infinite as you and I think. Trust me. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. And also, on the very top here, someone took a drone and flew over that, and it looks like somebody has been sacrificed up there. How? I don't know, but it's clearly blood, if you ask me. I don't know if I can find a picture of that or not, but if I can, I will show you, because I've seen it several times. I've just never actually saved it. Okay. I said that I need to go, but I keep finding good stuff here. eugenics-driven family who seeks complete control over the people and to further the depopulation agenda set by decades of small steps to remove only threat to their New World Order agenda, which is you. Follow the bloodlines, know your enemy, everything is connected, absolutely. Yes, so much so. Well, I need to get this done because you guys are going to be thinking that I didn't post tonight. So I'm going to leave it there, and tomorrow I will get caught up on the Q posts, I promise. And well, I shouldn't promise because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. But I will do my best to try, and don't see any reason right now why I wouldn't be updating the Q posts. Get us up to date on that, and also visit the news. I think this is going to be a big week for some reason. I don't know. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I'll probably be wrong again. But I do believe that. I really believe that. I think I just feel it. I guess we'll find out soon enough if I'm right or wrong. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I really do. And I love doing this every night. I love, you know, the comments and everything. And I will see you in the next video. Please stay safe and keep seeking truth. Good night, guys.